What's up and welcome back to Bardown Talking Hockey episode number 172, presented by the Barroom Network. It is the home of everything relating to the greatest league in the world, the NHL. My name is Vinnie and I still believe the New Jersey Devils are going to win the Stanley Cup. And this right here, this is Frankie Mueller, and he is the king of all beans. Bean, the magical fruit. How you feeling today, my son?
Feeling good. Feeling very good. It's hockey season. Regular season starts today. Are you excited?
Oh, dude. This is my Christmas. This is my favorite day of the year. One of them, for sure. One of my favorite sports days, certainly. The beginning of the NHL season happens to involve my team. I've been through this before.
You
I
have.
believe it was 2018. Was it Heischer's rookie? It wasn't Heischer's rookie year. It had to be the year after, so 2019. They played over in Switzerland against the Edmonton Oilers to kick off the season. They played 2 in Bern, Switzerland, and the Devils won them both, which was pretty cool. So I'm excited about this one. They're playing against the Buffalo Sabres. It's going to be a good time. The Devil season is here. The NHL season is here. The North American season is a Tuesday or Wednesday. It's one of the two.
Tuesday.
Super stoked. I know the Blackhawks play against the Utah Hockey Club in Utah. That'll be super cool. I'm just super stoked, man. It's back. We're here.
You know what I thought was weird?
What's that?
The first game Tuesday is at 3:30.
It was like that last year.
Which is 1:30 in Seattle.
Which
is very weird because
that is strange.
Overseas, and it's not a weekend. It's 1:30 prime time, no holiday. Very weird.
That is strange because last year I remember Nashville played Tampa, and it was like 4:30 that it started, or 3:30, but like 1:30 local time.
1:30 local time on a non-holiday or overseas. Like we get the Devils and Sabres because they're in Czech.
Prague. Yeah, exactly.
Right. But they're in Prague right now. But on a 1:30 local time during the week, that's crazy.
That is a little nutso. Well, hey, more hockey for us, right? I'm jacked. When the NHL season is going on from October to June, I classify it like never bored. Like if you're not doing anything that night, if you don't have family or friends or like everyone else in your house went to you watch hockey, like you're just hashtag never bored. Going forward, starting Tuesday. You still got the Devils play today, but at 3:00 when the game's over, that's preseason the rest of the night, and then same thing tomorrow. They play at 9 a.m. our time, and then all day you'll just watch college football, which is wonderful. But yeah, I'm super stoked. The NHL season is my favorite. I can't wait. And you know what, Frank? We're going to talk about the division that. I don't know if you could say it definitely draws the most eyeballs in the US of A. Not in the whole NHL. That's probably the Atlantic. But in the US of A, the most popular division, the ESPN TNT division, is the Metropolitan Division of the Eastern Conference. And we are going to completely preview the Metro in period number 1. Welcome to period 1. Frank, it's time for the Metropolitan Division. Your overall scope of the Metro before we get into it individual team by team.
It's going to be a very improved division this year, I think. There are a lot of powerhouses in this division. There's a lot of teams who may not be powerhouses anymore, but still can surprise this year potentially. So it's a very up in the air type of division. I think we're going to see some surprises.
Yeah, I hope, because right now looking into it, going into the year, worst division in the league. I think there's 3 true powerhouses. I think there's 2 teams that could surprise, get into the playoffs, be a good team, and then there's a whole lot of garbage. That's just my personal thoughts on it. There are some legendary players in this division. 2 of the 10 best players in NHL history are in this division. They both play on teams that I believe will be competitive, but will they, be the powerhouses that they were maybe 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago, winning this division, coming in second? I don't see it. There's a team that's been in this division for a long time that like dominating this division for a long time, but hasn't had much playoff success. And I'm wondering if they take a step back, take a step forward. They've lost a lot of pieces. We're going to get into it right now, starting with the team that won the division last year and made it all the way to the Eastern Conference Final, the New York Rangers. Frank, one player to watch, strengths, weaknesses. What do you got for me on the New York Rangers?
Oh, they had a very strong season last year. Won the Metropolitan Division. Very strong regular season. Very strong postseason. They ultimately ran into the Stanley Cup champions in the Eastern Conference Finals. Overall, takeaway from the Rangers, it was a very good year for them last year. Player I want to watch this season, and I think there should be a lot of eyes on, is Alexis Lafreniere. I think this is going to be a breakout season for him. The first 3 seasons for Lafreniere sparked some worry for Rangers fans, right? The biggest question was, is Lafreniere's ceiling going to be that of 30 to 40 points a season for a number 1 overall pick? You know, that's not what you expect. Things weren't looking great. That wasn't until last year when he started to come out of his shell. He had a career year, 28 goals, 29 assists. We started to see him pick up the pace a little bit. I think this is the Lafreniere that we've been waiting to see and that Rangers fans have been waiting to see. I think this year is going to be even bigger. I'm thinking 70-plus points, 30 or more goals. He had a slow start to his NHL career, but, you know, we're starting to see that talent showcased a little bit more. Rangers need Lafreniere to be just as good, if not better than last year, if they want any chance of progressing to the Stanley Cup final. You have to have this number 1 pick hit if you're the Rangers. Some of the strengths on this team, you have one of the best goaltenders in the league. You have one of the best defensemen in the league. You have a very strong top 6 and a very strong bottom 6, right? There's not a lot of weaknesses, but a lot of strengths. From the naked eye, everything looks good on paper, and you have everything you want on a Stanley Cup contending team. But, you know, you dig a little deeper and you do find some weaknesses. Not every team's perfect. Throughout the course of last season, the Rangers really struggled to score at times on 5-on-5. 5-on-5. They scored 278 goals on the season overall, and 65 of them came on the power play. So, I mean, that is a lot, you could say, at even strength, but they struggled mightily to score 5-on-5. We saw this in the playoffs more so. They only averaged 1.8 goals at even strength. I don't know if that was in the playoffs or if that was in the regular season, but 1.8 goals, I think it was in the playoffs. At even strength. That's not great. And that's a team that made it to the Eastern Conference Finals. You get that in the 2s, even if it's like 2.3, they could have made it to the Cup. This team just couldn't score 5-on-5 when they needed it, right? And they got all this talent on this team. This is an issue that even Peter Laviolette has brought up that they need to fix. So we'll see what happens going into this year. If they do fix some of those 5-on-5 issues, there's no reason why they can't get to the Stanley Cup. They were close.
Yeah, like the New York Rangers are one of the best teams in the NHL. There's no doubt about it. When I think of strengths, I think of how many high-end players that they have. Igor Shesterkin is one of the best goalies in the NHL, as you mentioned. We love Fox, right? The top 5 defensemen. You touched on both of those. Artemi Panarin comes in basically every season these days as like a top 10 betting favorite to win the Hart Trophy as the MVP of the league. He's one of the best offensive players going in the NHL. My weakness for the Rangers is that a lot of the offense that they rely on comes from guys who are starting to reach, certain ages where, a small drop off happens every year, like 33, 34. You're still a great player, but are you what you were 5 years ago? No. And it hasn't happened yet. I mean, we saw it a little bit last year with Mika Zibanejad, who has been one of the best centers in the NHL for the last decade. But Panarin still there, getting into his 30s, though. Kreider still there, getting into his 30s. People forget Kreider was on that team that Henrique scored on in the Eastern Conference Finals. Like, he's been around the league for a long time. Their forwards have taken a step, some of the younger ones. There was some worry about that going into last year. You touched on Lafreniere. Lafreniere, I asked you, I think it was 2 seasons ago, I asked you if he became Timo Meier in terms of production. I think Timo was still on the Sharks. If he became Timo Meier based on his production, would that satisfy New York Rangers fans? And we both came to an emphatic yes, 35, 40 goals a season, 60 to 80 points any given year, power forward, lead your team in hits, or lead your team forward in hits. Absolutely. And Lafreniere, he looks like he could become that. It feels like Vinny Trocheck has been in the league for a long time. Would you consider him like a savvy veteran?
Oh, 100%.
As people think, though, he was on Team North America. People forget he was on Team North America. He was one of the young guns. He's in the McDavid, McKinnon, Jack Eichel era, to be a rookie in 2018, 2019. He's not that old. He was just so good as a junior player, a young player, that he was able to play in the NHL very young. So by the time he's 26, 27, 28 years old, it feels like he's been here forever. That's the case for Vinny Trocheck. So expecting any kind of fall off from him is absolutely ridiculous. That's not going to happen. So yeah, I think the New York Rangers, their depth worries me a little bit. I look at the team and I'm like, their top flight players are top flight players. They have Hall of Famers at every position, or close to Hall of Famers at every position. Fox has won the Norris Trophy. Shesterkin's won the Vezina. They've gotten to the Eastern Conference Finals twice with this core. Lafreniere's only getting better. Capo Caco, I don't know what to say about him. I think that's just a sunk cost at this point. Trade him to a team like the Blackhawks, see if they can revive him, get a third-round pick, and accept your losses. But they're a really good team. There's one also thing hovering over them that they have to figure out soon. Otherwise, it's going to start to feel a little Bruiny on them. Igor Shesterkin is an unrestricted free agent at the end of this season. And unlike Jeremy Swayman, he's played more than 44 games in a season. And he has done it as a solo goaltender without splitting the load. And he's won the Vezina himself, not the guy he's partnered with. If you can't tell, I'm a little annoyed at Jeremy Swayman for thinking that he is Igor.
We'll get to him.
He's a moron. Or he's a moron, or his agent's a moron. It's probably the agent, but bad luck. Shesterkin's going to get a lot of money. I don't know if it's going to be from the Rangers. The Rangers might look around the league and say, no, thanks. Bobrovsky's really the only example of a highly paid goalie that went on to win cups. And, the Panthers, they got a little lucky. They made that trade for Tkachuk. They traded one $9 million player for another $9 million player, and the other one soared expectations and the other fell off. That helped make Bobrovsky be a Stanley Cup champion. The Rangers also don't have a Barkov. Very few teams do have that number one two-way centerman. So, yeah, I really like the Rangers going into this year. They're going to be a great team and compete for the playoffs. So I assume yes to the Rangers as a playoff team.
So we're saying that now, or are we waiting until
Well, yeah, we give our order at the end, but I guess
I think we both know. Yeah, they're a playoff team.
100%. All right, Frank, the team that came in second place last year, a team that's been coming in first or second in this division, even third, I think, a couple times. Just being a playoff team from this division for probably, half a decade now. The Carolina Hurricanes. So strong, been strong for a long time. What do you got for me on them?
The Hurricanes, they always feel like they're a contender. I love the style of hockey they play, and maybe this is just a lack of experience over the years, but they just don't perform well when it comes to the postseason, which kind of stinks. I like to see them win a Stanley Cup with this team. There are a ton of players with this team with playoff experience, but I don't know what's going on. I just want to see them do well. There is a guy I want to focus on. I think he's going to be a big part of helping this team win now and in the future. And I'm going to touch on a few goaltenders in this division, but that's Peter Kochetkov. Kochetkov is one of my favorite goalies in the NHL. I've been very high on him for a couple of years now. If you followed this podcast since the beginning, since Kochetkov's come around, I've talked about this kid a lot. He's the future of the Carolina Hurricanes. He hasn't been able to solidify himself as the number one because Freddie Anderson's there. But Freddie Anderson, he's injury prone. We saw that last season. Peter Kochetkov helped the Hurricanes make a run for the division for more than half the year last year. When Anderson was healthy, come playoffs, they started the vet, which I don't necessarily agree with. I don't want to see that this year if that happens. I think it's time to let Kochetkov run the crease. And I think we see a dominant year from this kid, and we see a passing of the torch from Freddie Anderson to Kochetkov. I honestly think that could happen this year. Their strength, they have one of the best coaches in the NHL Rod Brindamore, personally my favorite coach in the NHL, based off his style of coaching from what I've seen. He's looking to help the Carolina Hurricanes to the postseason for the 7th consecutive year. Every year that he has coached the Hurricanes, they've made it to the postseason. And that says a lot because he's coaching a team that doesn't have top 10 players in the NHL on their team. Right. And that kind of goes with their weakness is that they don't have that guy on their team, that one elite superstar, which has benefited them at times because of how well dispersed their talent is. But it also hurts them because because this is a team, that struggles to score. And when they play a lot of low scoring games, they don't have that guy that they can rely on. They kind of need even distribution from all their players, right? Aho, Nietzsche, Svechnikov, they're all great. But one year I want to see them make a huge trade or signing to get that superstar over from another team. Do I think they necessarily need somebody like that to win the Stanley Cup? No, not necessarily. But I do think having one would help them, especially in their past 6 playoff appearances, where they've been bounced in the conference finals or worse. Maybe if they had that guy, maybe they progress to the Stanley Cup. I don't know, and nobody really knows. But I do like this team, but they don't have that guy.
They did trade for someone close to being that guy
Jake
last year.
Gensel.
Jake Gensel is like he's about as close to being that guy as you can be. I mean, in his NHL career, he has 491 points in 520 games, 227 goals. With Carolina alone last year, he scored 8 goals and had 17 assists in 17 games played. So to have 25 points in 17 games played, you're not really getting like that's Connor McDavid level. I mean, it was a hot stretch for Gensel. He fit in well there. Which makes me think he's going to soar in Tampa. I don't even know who has him in fantasy hockey this year. I think he's going to have a sick year. Tampa made a sad decision letting Stamkos go in favor of Gensel, but I think it's going to prove to be the right. I honestly I see him exploding with Kucherov. I'm like seriously exploding. But Carolina did make that trade last year. It kind of blew up in their face because even though he was producing, the rest of the team decided not to show up. It's very rare that you look at like a Stanley Cup champion and you don't see at least one of those 100-point guys on the team. And one of those top flight two-way centermen, a top like that D that you can identify as the guy, and then a top 15-ish goalie. It's very rare. Like who won last year? Florida. Matthew Tkachuk, 100 points every year, no matter what. Barkov, top flight two-way center. They had 3 defensemen you could argue were the number one: Forsling, Montour, and Ekblad. Bob and net. Okay, let's go to Vegas. Jack Eichel is one of the best two-way forwards in the two-way centerman in the NHL. He is like a version of Barkov these days with probably a better shot. The injuries kind of kept them from having a 100-point guy, but Mark Stone brings that level of offense when he is in the lineup. So does Jack Eichel. And now you go back to Colorado. I mean, that's easy. They have two Hall of Fame forwards that get 100 points a year. A top flight defenseman with Cale Makar, and Devin Taves would be a number one on a lot of teams. And then the goalie situation was like, okay, they have a middle, a top 15 goalie, maybe not a top 5, but a top 15. You could get it done. I don't see that for Carolina. I think they'll have a dominant regular season. They'll be real good. They'll be hard to beat on most nights. When we get to the playoffs, though, I think we're going to see a lot more of the same. But this isn't a playoff preview. This is a regular season preview. They're going to be a wonderful team. There's a lot of talent there. I love some of the additions that they made. Losing Pesci is tough. He's a really good defensive defenseman. He's a little hurt to start the year. He's not in Prague with his new team, but he will be back, I think, within a week or two. And then you think of the fact that they have like Brent Burns, and up front, Sebastian Aho is incredible. So yeah, I'm curious. They're back to being with the Chicago Wolves. So this year we'll be able to go to the Wolves and see what kind of prospects Carolina's got going on. But yeah, they're a really good team. I think they'll be a playoff team. I don't see them getting over. I don't see them getting over that like super elite hump this year. Let's just put it this way.
You figure it's got to happen eventually, right?
I think they're going to take a step back, but still be really good. You figure what's got to happen eventually.
They got to get over the hump, you would think.
I don't
They're
think they
always in
have.
the season.
They don't have the roster right now to do that. I think they would have to. They would have to make a significant move
I
this year.
think they get over the hump a little bit. I'll elaborate more on that later,
Okay.
but not fully.
Well, what is getting over the hump for them? I think it's getting to the cup.
That exactly.
Um,
But winning the cup is you're fully over the hump.
well, yeah, of course, but only one team wins the cup every year. Like, well, let's start with a conference final win for Carolina. I say no shot. I'm
That's
sorry.
crazy.
Like
No shot is crazy.
their roster's not that good. Like it's good.
If you're
It's
that
one of the.
good though in the regular season, like saying no shot is crazy.
I just don't think they're built for playoff hockey at all right now. Their
That's
depth is
like me
taking a hit.
saying the Maple Leafs have no shot just because they don't win a first round.
The Maple Leafs have 5 players where if you put them on Carolina, they'd be Carolina's new best.
I
player.
understand that, and look at it, and Carolina has more success in the
Well,
playoffs.
I think Rod Brindamore is one of the best coaches in the league right now.
He is by far. He's my favorite coach in the NHL.
Yeah, and one of my favorite prospects in all of hockey right now is Jackson Blake. How they didn't have to give up Jackson Blake to get Jake Gensel. I thought he was for sure going to be a Penguin. Right when I saw that Gensel to Carol, I think Elliott tweeted that Gensel to the Pittsburgh is done, waiting on return or something like that. I'm like, Jackson Blake is going to Pittsburgh. He was playing for North Dakota, watched him play a bunch. I'm like, he's going to be a Penguin. We'll get to see Jackson Blake play, which said, wait, Carolina gets to keep him? No way. So he'll be playing for the Chicago Wolves to start the season this year, I assume. I'm probably going to try and get to an early season Wolves game just so I can see Jackson Blake play a pro game once before he inevitably gets called up to Carolina because he might have even can't say I've been following Carolina's preseason too much. We'll see if he even makes the team out of the start of the year. So I don't know. I don't love this Carolina team right now, though. I'm down on them. I think they don't stink, but out of all the good teams, they stink.
I get what you mean. I don't know. I have a different outlook on them. I think Rod, him in himself, I think is enough to get him to the cup.
The cup.
2 conference final, yeah.
You have them going that far this year?
We'll see.
All right. Frank, the next team we'll talk about on the list, a team that could surprise. They could be real good. There's lots of good talent there, but they always kind of seem to be like there's a ceiling to their success, and that ceiling is higher than most teams in the league, but not where they want to get. The New York Islanders. What do you got for me on them?
Yeah, third last year. They weren't great. They were good. I say they weren't great. They finished third, but really to me, they weren't great. I didn't have much hope for them past the regular season. They're basically running it back with the same group this year. They're one of the quietest teams this offseason. And when you look at some of the teams in their division and, the powerhouses we talk about and other teams that hint maybe improve this year, you really can't afford to be quiet, right? Given the teams you're up against and basically do nothing in the offseason, right? The guy I want to focus on, Bo Horvat. The Islanders got Bo Horvat in hopes that he would make some sort of explosive impact, help the Islanders achieve more success in the stat department. He was great last season, notched 33 goals. It was his 3rd consecutive 30-goal season, but he isn't much of a distributor. However, last season, he distributed more than he ever had in his career. And, I think one more full season this year under Patrick Roy can see him even further that part of his game a bit more. With the division around the Islanders getting better, I think they need Horvat to improve this season more. But yeah, we'll see. The strengths on this team, the Islanders have one of the better goalie tandems in the NHL with Sorokin and Varlamov. These are guys with a ton of experience. Both goalies are consistent, stable enough to win a team a Stanley Cup with the right team around them. Is that the Islanders? Probably not. But they also have a very good defense. The Islanders do not give up a ton of goals. Their back end's very good. They fail to make moves to improve this team offensively, though. That's what's keeping them back. That's their biggest weakness. When I look at this group of forwards, I struggled to see a team that could compete with some of the other teams in the Metro. Don't get me wrong, right? This team's got great NHL players: Bo Horvat, Barzal, Duclair, Palmieri, Hondersley, Pajot. But those guys aren't the core to help you lead you on a postseason run, and they refuse to make any additional offseason moves. If I'm an Islanders fan, I'd have to be annoyed because they're just hovering. They're the hovering team in the Metro. We had a hovering team in the Central and in all the other divisions. Well, this is the hovering team in the Islanders, where I just feel like everybody around them is getting better and they're staying the same. I don't love this team.
Yeah, I look at this team and I see a lot of similarities between them and Carolina. They have better goaltending on the island. Sorokin was bad last year. Let's call it what it is. He was bad last year. Varlamov was good. And Patrick Waugh has a history with Varlamov from their time together in Colorado. We know they're both coming into this year with an equal opportunity to take the net because Sorokin has been elite in the past, a Vezina nominee in the past. So is Varlamov, but a lot more recently Sorokin. But last year specifically, Varlamov was better. He deserved to play. I think, again, I look at this roster. I see great players. The top line of Duclair, Horvat, and Barzal, they'll score. And with Patrick Waugh as the coach, I don't think it'll be quite as defensive-minded as, the Islanders have been used to being. So maybe Bo Horvat and Barzal can kind of blossom a little bit this year. I look at Kyle Palmieri, Brock Nelson, and Siplikov on the second line. This Siplikov kid is supposed to be like nasty. We'll see how he actually turns out to be. He's got some absolute nads on him, picking number 7 right out the gate and just being like, I'm going to be number 7. But playing with Brock Nelson and Kyle Palmieri, it's a good second line. I'd like it better as a third line. Back in the day when Kyle Palmieri was like a first liner on the Devils, I used to say, I wish he was on the second line because that would mean the team was better. Now I'm saying it a couple years later, a little bit older. I'd love to see a guy like that on the third line. I just don't think the depth up front for the Islanders is that great. Anders Lee, the captain, playing on the third line with J.G. Pajot and Shimon Holmstrom. I'm sure that'll be an okay line. I like their fourth line. Kyle McLean, Casey Cizikas, and Pierre Engvall. That's a fourth line in the NHL today. Like that, there's a little bit of jam and some scoring touch too. Cizikas, we've seen him score. Same thing with Engvall back in his days with the Maple Leafs. Their defense is okay. I look at it and I don't want to puke like I do when I look at some other teams' depth chart on defense. I think Noah Dobson is top 10. Looking back, I was so pissed off. And you remember, I was so angry when the Blackhawks drafted Adam Boquist in 2018. I wanted to punch Stan Bowman right in the face for making that draft pick because he left Noah Dobson and Evan Bouchard on the board. And Keandre Miller, who didn't go for like 10 picks later. Just nasty decisions by Stan Bowman right there to take Adam Boquist over Noah Dobson. And it was so obvious then. I remember saying it. And like, I'm no guru. I'm wrong sometimes. I think guys will go on to be great, and we all make good that one blows my mind because I'm like, how couldn't you see that? Other ones, I'm like, okay, I was wrong. I saw flashes. I thought he'd be great. There was nothing that told me that Adam Boquist might even be slightly better than these guys. And that has turned out to be the case. But yeah, now he's on the island. I'm sure he's happy being there. He'll probably be top 10 in Norris voting. That'll help the Islanders win some games. And with their goaltending, I think the Islanders are going to be a pretty good team. Are they going to be fun to watch? I actually do think they are going to be now, with Patrick Waugh as their coach from a full season out. The Islanders used to be a snooze fest. They'd be a good team. They'd win, but like it wasn't aesthetically pleasing. Kind of like the Chiefs. We'll get to the Chiefs in the third period. They just get nasty wins, like just not that aesthetically pleasing to watch. It's not like watching the Bills or the Ravens, right? Like those teams are fun to watch. Those two quarterbacks. The Chiefs just dink and dunk on you for 3 hours, and it could get boring. But they're going to win. The Islanders are like the hockey version of that. They have been in the past. I think there will be a little more excitement this year. I hope Patrick Waugh looks at Matt Barzal in the eye and says, go be you. Go get me 100 points this season. Do I care if you're minus 10? No. Plus minus is a stupid stat anyway. Go out there and score. I hope that's the case for Barzal, Horvat. I like Duclair. When I think of Duclair being on the Islanders, though, I think about when he first arrived to camp with a shaved head and no beard. And it pisses me off that it's 2024 and we have an NHL team and a MLB team that forces their guys to shave their beards and clean up their hair. like Frank, you would just be Lou Lamoriello would hate you.
Oh yeah,
you'd be done. You'd be cut the second you showed up to camp, unless you showed up with a razor blade and some scissors. You'd be cooked if you tried to play for the Yankees or the Islanders, man. That's nuts. Just absolutely nuts.
It must be a New York thing.
Well, it's not, though, because...
I know, but it's funny. It's funny.
Lamoriello has been the president of the Devils, the Maple Leafs, and the... Go back and look at any Devils photos from when they first became a team to 2015. Kovalchuk, Parisi, Elias, Brodeur never had facial hair, ever.
Do you know who else would be cooked in the NHL? Brent Burns.
Oh, yeah.
With his beard.
Brent Burns just never would go to...
No.
He just never would agree to a trade.
I can't imagine him clean shaved.
Yeah, I mean, when he first broke in with the Wild, he kind of had like a traditional beard where it's like still to the face a little bit, but the hair wasn't like that. And yeah, Brent Burns is a beauty, though. I can't imagine pissing that guy off. Like, why would you not want him to just be empathetically himself? That's crazy to me. But you're thinking you're going to put the Islanders in the playoffs?
I don't think so.
Me either. Just missed, though. They're going to be a good team. I do think they're going to be a good team. And I feel that way about this team, too. I don't think I'm going to put them in the playoffs, but I think they'll be a real good team because they have aged generational talents on their team. And, of course, I'm talking about the Pittsburgh Penguins. For the last 25 years, the Penguins have been one of the most intriguing teams in the NHL. For as long as I can remember, they've been nothing more or less than a powerhouse. I will tell my grandkids about Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin and the thrill that they gave me as a kid. I'm not sure I'm as big of a hockey fan. Maybe I am, because there would have been other players, but like Sidney Crosby and Evgeny Malkin were two of my favorite non-Devils for ever. They still are. I watch the Penguins could go to hell this season, and I'll still watch because they have 71 and 87. I've been obsessed with those guys in their hockey careers for a long time. I'm super stoked to watch the Penguins this year. When you say one player to watch from every team that we're going through, I don't normally give chalk. With Pittsburgh, it's Sidney Crosby. I want Sid to have the strongest finish to a career that any hockey player could possibly have. I want him to be second all-time in points. Give me 700 goals, give me 1,300 assists, and give me 2,000 points for Sid the Kid. I want Crosby to make it where, you know that saying, if Wayne Gretzky never scored a goal, he'd still be the NHL's all-time leading scorer because he has more assists than anybody else has points? I want Sid to make that statement false. I think it's possible. I'm looking at his stats right now. He has 592 goals and 1,004 assists and 1,596 points. Sid will score his 600th goal this season. It'll probably be in November, right? November-ish. And then he'll get his 1,500th point. It wouldn't shock me if he gets his 1,500th point by this time next week. Because, offense carries early in the season. Wouldn't shock me if Sid has 4 points in his first two games. Like, that wouldn't shock me even slightly. Do I think he's going to have 120 points? No. But, I look at these gaudy statistics, and I'm like, this is one of the greatest players of all time. And he's got 15. He's going to have 1,600 points, Frank, without even reaching the 1,300 games played mark. This is one of the 5 greatest hockey players of all time. You can argue he's one. If you need to win one game to win the Stanley Cup, and you could pick any guy in his prime for the entire history of the sport, I'm taking Sidney Crosby. I can't wait to see what he does in his age 37 season. Give me 100 more goals, Sid. I need 100 more goals out of you and about 200 more assists. Let's go.
And
I believe in him. I will never not, and the Penguins will be competitive because of him.
last year I nailed this team right. Let's see if I could do it again, right? I was going to sit here. I was going to talk about Crosby. You did that. I'm going to talk about Tristan Jarry. I think that this is this bounce back season for Jarry. It would help the Penguins improve, even if it's slightly if that happens. But Tristan Jarry, he had a bad record with the Penguins last year. His stats, though, they weren't terrible. He had a 903 save percentage, 291 goals against. It's a little high for Jarry standards. However, he had the most shutouts last season that he's ever had in his career, 6 of them, on a team that missed the playoffs that wasn't playing that well in front of him. Those stats weren't the worst. I think Jarry could play slightly better this year than he did last year. Maybe this team gets into the postseason again. I just don't think anybody should talk down on Jarry due to the fact that he was serviceable last season. I think this is going to be a bounce back year for him. Do I have him in the playoffs? Probably not. But I do think they can improve slightly. I do. I think it could be a better year for him. Who knows though? They could make the playoffs. They could surprise. I still don't love how old they are. Their strengths and weakness, they go together. They go hand in hand, right? Their strength is they're a veteran heavy team that knows how to win close games. They know how to win in the postseason. You still have your core performing at a high clip given their age. If the Penguins are considered to be part of the prior era of success, or, that old 2010s era, they still have the main part of their core left that they used to contend for all those Stanley Cups, right? So that's a strength. They're trying to win with what they got. I get it. But that's also their weakness as well. Their weakness is they're a veteran heavy team, and with that comes with age and slowness, and that was part of the reason I didn't think they'd make the postseason last year, despite getting Carlson, and that really showed last season. It's big why that was a big reason why they missed. And when you look at this team, they are veteran heavy, and watching young stud Rutger McGroarty will be fun, especially with all the veterans around. But it still worries me with how old this team is, and it still raises many red flags with some of the other younger teams, younger, faster, quicker teams in this division. I just don't think the Penguins got it.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. Listen, I don't think they're going to be amazing either, but I think their guys that are older on the team are the ones that will be their top scorers. Like, we know who the 2 best players from 2005 to 2020 are. I don't need to say them. They're both in this division. I just got done talking about one of them. We're going to talk about another one in a couple minutes. I'm sure you're pumped up about that. But the 3rd best player in that era, listen, I love Patrick Kane. I love Claude Giroux. I love Steven Stamkos. Those are probably all the guys in the mix for the 3rd best player. It's Evgeny Malkin. Okay, I will argue that with anyone. Evgeny Malkin, he's played 1,145 games. He's got 1,296 goals, or points, I mean. He's going to reach a crap ton of milestones to start this year. He's 2 goals away from 500, and he's 4 points away from 1,300. Evgeny Malkin is one of the greatest players ever. If I'm making a ranking of top 30 players ever, Malkin's probably in the mid-teens. Honestly, like I've taken him up against most people. It's not surprising to me that in the era that the Penguins had Crosby and Malkin, they won the Stanley Cup 3 times. It's just an all-time great dynasty. Just being so strong. They called it the 2-headed monster. And it was that for a long time. Gino, he's not the 100-point guy that he once was, but last year he's played all 82 games 2 years in a row, which is, Malkin dealt with some injuries in the middle of his career. I'm looking 75 games played, 60 games played, 69, 57, 62. The last 2 years, 82 and 82, and pretty consistent, 27 goals in both of those seasons, 40 assists last year, 67 points in 82 games. Is he a megastar anymore? No. But will he be Pittsburgh's 2nd leading scorer? Maybe he'll be 2nd or 3rd. I think Erik Karlsson could be in that mix, and so could McGroarty playing alongside Crosby, or if any other winger on the team finds chemistry with Sid that maybe we're not expecting so far. But yeah, I think Pittsburgh's going to be sick. I'm super stoked to watch them.
Yeah, I think they'll be okay. I just don't think they're a playoff team, to be honest
Yeah,
with
I don't either. When I say sick, I mean fun to watch
you.
because I don't love their defense. Jari's okay. Outside of Letang and Carlson, it's not like it's this 2010s Blackhawks defense. Like it's just not the case. So we'll move on to the team I know you love talking about with me. The Washington Capitals. They made some hefty additions to their team this offseason. They added guys like Pierre-Luc Dubois, Andrew Mangiapane, Taylor Radish, and now they are looking to get Ovechkin that goal record. I know teams will never admit it, that everyone wants to win the Stanley Cup. That's the ultimate goal. This core did win the Stanley Cup. There's no Backstrom anymore. But Alexander the Great has 853 goals. He is 41 goals away from the record at 894. 894. Frank, I'm going to do it one more time. I said I wasn't going to do this. I said I wasn't going to do this, but it's the first day of the season. The sun is shining. I'm going to a wedding tonight. The hockey season's back. I'm in a great mood. I'm getting a Curter burger today. They're back. They're back.
I need to try that.
Frank, it is a wonderful day. I'm in a great mood. I'm in a giving mood. If you finally say to me, Vin, I think Alexander Ovechkin is going to break the all-time goals record. He's going to play until he does it. There's nothing that's ever going to stop him. He only needs 41 more goals. He could go 20 this year and 20 next year. That's not even that many. That's like a third liner. Like, there's going to be 5 guys on the shitty Blackhawks that score 20 goals this season. And Ovechkin will probably teeter with 30, I would think. Maybe even he has like a hot start and just needs a consistent rest of the way to break it this year. I don't think that's out of the conversation. It's not impossible. It wouldn't be the most goals a 38-year-old has ever scored, especially the guy with 850-something goals already in his career. This is your chance. And if you flip right now, when he does it, I will say nothing. I won't laugh. I won't point. This is when I say I'm not going to be in a good mood the rest of the year. The Devils start today. My mood solely relies on what they do for the next 8 months. I'm going to be pissed off most of the time. Today, I'm in a good mood. Today, I am in a good mood. Frank, this is your chance. I will say nothing if he breaks the record this year or next year or the year after.
If I switched, that would be the most cowardice thing to do.
No, it wouldn't.
He is not getting.
It would not. Frank.
I'll give you an opportunity.
It's okay. It's okay to, because when you said it, it was more of a debate. It was more, he was 110 goals away. He kind of looked, but like now it's like he's on top of the damn thing. Like only a fool would retire at this point. Only a fool would retire at this point. I would consider him a coward if he retired. He would be the coward. And you know it. He would be the coward if he retired before getting this record. He's not that far away. It would be a joke if he retired.
I'm giving you an opportunity to switch.
I'm not. Get out of here. I don't want to hear it.
I ain't switching.
You think I'm switching.
I ain't switching.
You're out of your mind if you think I'm switching.
Buddy's good for about 18 goals this year. Maybe.
You don't believe that.
I do believe it.
This is a bit. You don't think he's getting 18 goals.
He's good for 18 this year.
You do not think he's getting 18 goals.
He's good for 18.
And guess what, Frank? If he gets 18, he'll only be about 20 away from the record.
And maybe he's good for about 15, and then he's going to call it quits at age 41.
41?
He's 39 right now.
So you think he gets 18 this year, 15 next year, and retires with like 5 goals to go?
Well, it'd be like 8, but yeah.
Get out. You don't believe that. I don't believe you. No, you don't.
He's cooked.
You don't believe that.
He's cooked.
You know it'll be you think it'll be a cowardly move to flip, so you're coming up with all the 18 goals this year, 15 next year, and then he's going to retire needing about 8 goals. You are. If you actually believe that, you are out of your mind.
And that's staying healthy for 82 games. I mean, he hasn't dealt with a lot of injuries, which is why he's got here. But
he was a little hurt last year, and he only had 31.
I mean,
oh my God, you're so disrespectful to the greats. If Wayne Gretzky was approaching Gordie Howe's record, and we had this podcast in the early '90s, Frankie would be like, "There's no way he's breaking Gordie Howe's record." Wayne Gretzky, this clown. Who does Wayne Gretzky think he is? Oh my God.
I mean,
Frank, I respect you, man. You're nuts.
We see it when players get later in their careers. It happened to Gretzky. It did. Different era. I get it. Different era, different. But it happens to the greats. He's not going to just continue to score 30. That I'd be impressed. Then I'd be impressed. I get it. I trust me. I know how good Alex Ovechkin is.
Need to score 30. He could go 10, 10, 10, 10 and retire
if he
at
doesn't
43.
Score 30 this year, brother is cooked.
No way. That is nuts. It looks like Gretzky had 62 points in his age 38 season.
Yeah, 69 goals, VP. 9 goals.
He was not. That wasn't the point, though.
But it is for Ovechkin. That's the point for Ovechkin. He needs goals, not points. I'm not saying Ovechkin might not have 70 points or whatever.
It's not the same thing. The year before, Gretzky was an all-star and had 23.
All right. Ovechkin could get about 23 this year. Maybe. I got him around 18. We'll see.
Yeah, I think he breaks the record this year.
I thought it was so funny, everybody passing on him in fantasy. Like,
I ended up with him. You guys are cooked. Dumb.
Or like everybody's passing. I was like, yeah, I'm not taking Ovi.
You're dumb. Like, I honestly, like, people.
Everybody was passing on him.
I mean, I took him. I got him. I'll take those 40 goals this season. 9 goals. Crazy. 9 goals.
Have 9 goals.
He had 20. Okay, first of all, this story is true. I verified this story. The first half of last year, CCM stopped making a stick. He was using a different stick every single game from October. This is crazy, actually, that hockey players are this weird. He was using a different stick every game until Christmas. And he had a 2-goal game in like mid-December, and he kept using that stick the rest of the way. And he had 24 goals from New Year's Day to the end of the year. He had 8 goals on Christmas and finished with 31. The second half of last year was so strong for him. And yeah, that's going to pick up. And they gave him Pierre-Luc Dubois. He has chemistry with Dylan Strome. Carlson is healthy. I think the Capitals are going to be pretty good.
That's the only thing that they have going for them is they're better this year.
And Mangiapane's on the line now, just a little spider monkey to go hang out in front of the net and create chaos, and Ovechkin will be a little more open. He's still a blast on the power play. Tom Wilson's healthy. He'll be in front of the net. I like Chychrun with Carlson. Rasmus Sandin is there, too, to help bring a little offensive jam from the back end. Yeah. I have no reason to believe that Ovi... 30 for him at a minimum, and then next year break the record early in the season, but it would not shock me even slightly if at the end of the year he's trickling away at it and he's close. April, March. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to watch Washington. What is it?
What is there at any point, is there a world where you see it's not happening, or is it a guarantee no matter what? We've had for the season with no goals this year for some reason.
Yeah, no.
He's breaking it no matter what.
I absolutely do think that, because he has talked adamantly about what it will mean to him to break the record. Gretzky has talked about it. Every single person around him they know it's gonna happen almost. And like, I don't know it. Like I feel like I do, but
Hello? Did we lose VP? Or is it me? I think it was VP. I don't know. Who? Anybody here think Ovi's going to break it, or am I crazy? He's back.
Sorry, I don't know what happened. I don't think I was gone. You heard me start to talk about your answer to your question, right?
I heard most of it, and then it just
Yeah.
like
He's talked about it. He wants to do it. It's not so out of reach where it's like impossible. He could go 10, 10, 10, 10. Yager is just now retiring from pro hockey. He's 50.
Yager's
55.
an anomaly.
And Ovechkin will be an anomaly. Because think about the way Ovechkin
We're
scores
losing
goals.
VP.
Am I here? Am I here now?
Yeah, you're here. Unless
Think
it was
about
me.
think about the way Ovechkin scores goals. He doesn't even throughout his career, he doesn't dipsy-do through everyone like McDavid or go to the front of the net for hard punishment like Sidney Crosby. It is all using that shot and blistering a 1-tees on the power play. That's not going to age. Yager scored 20 goals in his mid-40s in the NHL. Let's see. When Yager was on the Florida Panthers in
Yager's an anomaly,
2015, 16, Ovechkin's an anomaly too.
Not in that way. Ovechkin's not playing till he's 50-something.
No, and not 50-something, but at age 43, Yager scored 27 goals. That's nuts.
I know.
And the year before he had 17. The year before that he had 24. 42 and 41 years old. On bad Devils teams, he had 24 goals. Like, this guy was a madman, and I think Ovechkin's a madman too. I think he's an anomaly. It's an anomaly to have 853 goals at age 38. Like, 20-20-10 breaks the record. 30-15 breaks the record.
So you're just assuming he's going to fall off next year?
Eventually he'll have 15, 20 goals. Yeah.
That's coming this year.
And that won't even slightly change. Like, because I think it's a couple years away to be like at 15. I think the low end for Ovechkin is 20-25. And like the high end, yeah, and the high end is breaking the record this year. And when's the last time Ovi scored 50? I don't think he's getting 50. I think there are 5 guys in the league that could get 50 right now. But the last time Ovi scored 50 was 21-22. So not even that long ago. And the year before that, or the year after that, 22-23, he scored 42, which is exactly the number he would need to break the record.
I mean, a few years ago.
2.
A couple of years ago.
And then last year, he scored 31 with that abysmal first half.
That is true. But, no. Sticking to it.
You had your chance. You had your chance. Playoffs for Washington?
Yeah.
Me too. I think they're good. I don't know. I look at this roster.
They're better, yeah. I like what I see. You didn't
It's
even mention Logan Thompson, Jacob Chikrin.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
It's a solid team that I'm excited to watch, and more than just the Ovechkin thing. When he has 5 goals by the end of October, though, you'll be sweating. Because, like, I know in your mind you think it's possible. You're not as, like, it's not happening as you were 2 years ago because of how close we are actually getting now. Like, it could happen in theory this year. Would I bet on it? No.
I will say this, VP. I will say this. I think it's more likely to break it this year than at all. If it's not this year, it's not happening. Like, he either breaks it this year or it's not happening.
That's
He's more likely to have 40-something goals this year than breaking it over the next 3 years.
That's nuts.
And I don't think that's going to happen. That's why I think he's cooked.
Why can't he get 30 and then 10 next year? Why is that just like completely out of your realm of possibility?
He could get 30. I just don't see it happening.
Why can't he get 20 and get 20 again next year?
When you get in your 40s, man, This is a tough
if you're
game.
Ovechkin,
This
it
is a
doesn't
tough
matter.
game, VP.
This isn't Zach Parise, who
I
is just
understand.
short of the Hall of Fame.
I get
This
that.
isn't TJ Oshie.
I
Great
get that.
players.
I get that. I don't
It-
know. We don't have to wait much longer. October 8th, start of the season. They'll be underway. We'll get our
Ovechkin's
first
gonna have
glimpse.
6 goals. Maybe it's because your favorite team doesn't play against him that often. He's got 6 goals against the Devils in the bag already.
Who will have more goals this year, Bedard or Ovechkin?
Bedard. I mean, Frank, I'm not an idiot. I know how aging works. I can't put into perspective the fact that he has 3 years left on his contract, and you can't split 3 years into 40 goals. It just doesn't make any sense to me how you can't split. He could go 15, 15, 15. Boom. Done. Ovechkin is the goal king in 2027 at 41 years old. It's just crazy to me.
Here's the problem, VP, about going 15, 15, 15. If he goes 15 this year, that's clearly a step back, huge step back.
Yeah.
Then I'm worried about him getting 15 the next year. If he only got 15 this year, why is he going to get 15? Now it's like we're taking steps back. Now is he going to get like 8 next year then, the year after? Like that scares me.
But it's like an average of 15. No, I don't think he could go 25, 20, 10. He could go, that's like a perfect decrease to still get the record. And he's 41 at that.
20, he would have it. He wouldn't need the 10.
Thanks. Thank you.
But it's not, I don't see it
Thank
happening.
you for proving my point. That's true.
But I don't see it happening.
Frank, I think it's more likely that he plays until he has 1,000 goals than not breaking the record at all.
All right. Something dumb's going to happen, and there's going to be an excuse on your end. I could smell it already.
If he doesn't,
dude's going to snap his leg and be, we didn't predict he'd snap his leg.
I mean, if that happens,
there's going to be some BS thing.
Nope. If he doesn't break the record, I will say I was wrong. The forces of nature kept him from breaking the record, and you were right. I will say that no matter what.
All right.
And you're going to come on here. This is what's going to happen when he does break the record. You're going to come on. You want to talk about what I'm going to do if I'm wrong? Here's what's going to happen if you're wrong. You're going to come on here and go, well, VP, I didn't actually think that. That was a bit the whole time. Of course he was going to get 40 goals over a span of 4 years. He's Alexander Ovechkin. He's the greatest goal scorer who ever lived. Of course he was going to always get 40 goals over a 4-year span. It was a bit. It was a debate on the podcast. I would have been a coward to flip, but of course I knew. That's what's going to happen when he does break the record. So bite me.
This is great. I can't wait.
Oh, let's go Caps. When they're not playing the Devils, oh my, I'm tweeting every single Ovechkin goal this season will be on my Twitter. Just on to the next. Ovechkin shot, score! Alexander Ovechkin. He needs 20 more. Frankie still doesn't think he's going to do it, even though he's got 3 years left on his deal.
We'll see.
He's not retiring before that contract is over. No shot in hell. Oh, but he's Russian. I don't care. He's been in the U.S. for fucking 25 years. It's Alexander Ovechkin, man. It's Alexander Ovechkin, one of the actual greats, not just some flash in the pan. He's not just some flash in the pan at all. And I'll tell you what, you should hope. I plan on starting to really look for a house in December, January. You should just hope Ovechkin has 40 goals before Christmas so that I don't have my own house for when this record happens. Because then you're going to have to come over and watch when Ovechkin's on 894 and he's 1 away. You're going to have to come to my house for 3 straight Caps games and eat it because this was your one opportunity, your one chance. It's over now. I've given you a couple and I kept saying I'm not going to give you any more. That's it.
That's okay.
It. And don't ask, when he's on 890, don't say, VP, can I get one of those chances, please? Can I admit I was wrong and you don't barrage me? Because no. The graphics I have planned for this show with your face on like a Game of Thrones, your face on Ned Stark's head and Ovechkin's face on the guy chopping it off. It is going to be
Oh,
biblical what happens when Ovechkin breaks this record, because this has been our hot debate for how long?
I'm going to be sad when it comes to an end. This
Me
is the
too.
greatest debate of sports ever.
No.
No other show in the world has a debate this good.
Oh, maybe not that. The greatest debate in the history of sports is, was it Belichick or was it Brady? That's my opinion.
No, I'm saying our debate
Excuse me.
for our shows. This
Yes.
is for any show.
Yes. 100%. 100%. And you're going down. I'm getting an Ovechkin jersey. I'll get the cheap. I'm going to get $100. I know Fanatics has like new tiers of jerseys. I'm going to get one of the cheaper ones. I need an Ovechkin jersey for this little run we're about to go on. My birthday's coming up. If anyone wants to get me an Ovechkin jersey, if I don't have one after my birthday, I'm just gonna get one. I need an Ovechkin jersey for all of this. I have a Crosby jersey. I have a Malkin jersey. I have a Kane jersey. I need to get an Ovechkin jersey bad. Frank, we're gonna make an impossible transition. It's really hard to go from this debate talking about the Washington Capitals and your absolute asinine prediction about Alexander Ovechkin and him not scoring 40 goals over the next 4 years to talk about the Columbus Blue Jackets, who are in the Metropolitan Division. Obviously, the team has made some additions to their group. The Columbus Blue Jackets have added Sean Monahan, James Van Riemsdyk. Who else is new? Sean Crowley's been there. Eric Goodbranson. It looks like the big additions are Monahan and James Van Riemsdyk, who's JVR signed a PTO, made the team. Obviously, the one loss that is really, really devastating and hard for the Columbus Blue Jackets to deal with is the fact that their best player, Johnny Gaudreau, passed away earlier in the summer. It's a big loss for the Columbus Blue Jackets, both in terms of just a wonderful human being. A human being in general, losing their life is never fun. But, that's 75, 80, 90, 100 points gone from Columbus's roster. We did learn that the Columbus Blue Jackets, because of Johnny Gaudreau's untimely death, they get to put his contract away and it will not hit their salary cap, and they have pretty much as much time as they need to reach the cap floor. The NHL has given them a grace period to reach the cap floor now that Johnny's, I think it's 9-something, is off the books, and they're not going to be at the floor after losing a contract like that, and they don't have a lot of money invested around the rest of the roster in general. So from a business side, a hockey side, a sadness side, it's really hard to preview the Columbus Blue Jackets. But I mean, I don't know what you have to say about them, but I have nothing but sympathy and sorrow for the organization.
Yeah, it's going to be very heavy and somber for the Blue Jackets fans after the loss of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau this offseason. Going to be a very emotional team. I know every player on this team is going to give it 110% in honor of Johnny. And because of what he meant to this team and the entire Blue Jackets fan base. I think Adam Fantilli is going to be at the forefront of it all this year. He had a very good rookie campaign, 12 goals, 15 assists, 49 games. He was on pace for over 50 points over the course of an 82-game year. I think he's gonna step it up for this team. Obviously, they got a lot to play for this year because of everything that happened. They just want to go out there and kind of dedicate this season to Johnny Gaudreau. This team's going to be very bad, though. I think this is going to be a very, very bad team. Fantilli will be one of those bright spots in each and every night, brings the energy for the Blue Jackets. There's some of their strengths they have. Got some veterans to help guys like Fantilli, Gavin Brindley, Juracek develop. Sean Monahan, JVR will be critical pieces to help some of these young players develop. I don't think it'll be nearly enough to make this team competitive, but it is a crucial step to build a young team up from very little. Right now, this team has no depth at all. Every player you may be excited to see for this season for the Blue Jackets not going to produce. Their leading goal scorer will probably be Zach Werenski. Maybe it is Fantilli, if he has a really good year, because I think Zach Werenski could get anywhere from like 50 to 60 points. I think that's his ceiling. And who knows if he'll even reach that mark this season. So, I mean, maybe Fantilli leads them in points. Who knows? But this team, they just don't have depth on offense, defense, goaltending to try and even escape their way out of the bottom of the division. So I just think it's going to be a very poor year for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I would love to live in a world where, by the forces of whatever you believe in, whether it be God or nature or whatever it is that you believe in, helps the Columbus Blue Jackets have like a good year. Like somehow Merzlikins has an angel on his shoulder and he's a Vezina caliber goalie this season, or Adam Fantilli like reaches his prime a year or two early and like leads this team to being competitive, or James Van Riemsdyk comes in and finds the fountain of youth a little bit and tucks in 30. Monahan's got to be coming into this year as motivated and angry as ever at what has happened to him in the last month or two. He signed with the Blue Jackets to play with Johnny. I like the team down the middle. They don't have a number one center until Fantilli fits that role. I think he will eventually, but until he does, while he's like a young prospect type player, they don't have that number one guy. But Monahan, Fantilli, Sillinger, and Corrali, that's a pretty good top four. If Fantilli steps in and becomes that number one guy he was drafted third overall to be, then it'll be a really good top four centers. You look at the wings, they're a little light. I like Kent Johnson. I'd like to see a little more development from him. Marchenko can be exciting. So can Boone as well. I look at their D. I don't love it. Werenski's a point-producing machine. He's great. But Damon Severson, Provorov, Jiricek, that's an okay top four. I'd like to see better from Severson and Provorov. Jiricek, the sky's the limit for him. It's going to take a while for a young defenseman. He was fifth overall in the 2022 NHL draft, so still a lot of time to develop. It's hard for defensemen. Whether he or Shimon Nemitz is the best defenseman from that draft is a debate. Nemitz has had a little bit of a better start, but they're both really, really good, and I think Jiricek will go on to be a star. And then I look at the goaltending. You see Merzlikins and Tarasov. I don't know who's going to start more games out of those two. You would think Merzlikins, but Tarasov is actually listed as the top goalie on the depth chart right now. So there's been a lot of tragedy that followed the Columbus Blue Jackets around over the last couple of years. And even before that, from like a hockey point of view, losing Panarin was obviously really tough on them. I was going to come on here. I remember like getting my thoughts together a little bit over the summer. And before the Johnny Gaudreau tragedy happened, I was going to come on here during our Metro predictions and predict that Gaudreau breaks Panarin's franchise record for most points in a Blue Jacket season. Obviously, that is not going to happen now. I think Fantilli could do it eventually one day, but yeah, it's going to be a tough year for the Blue Jackets on the ice just as much as it is off the ice. For that organization, it's about healing and putting together a good effort. I'd be a little surprised if they didn't come in last place and were in the sweepstakes to get both Hagens. I hope they get Hagens and McKenna. I really, really do. Ohio would be bumping then if the Blue Jackets were all of a sudden great and you have the Blue Jackets and Ohio State as top-tier teams in the Columbus area. You know how it is with the Browns and the Bengals. The Reds just hired Terry Francona. The Guardians are in the playoffs, ready to go on a little run here. I mean, Ohio sports could be really kicking it if the Blue Jackets were to get going. I'm sorry about what happened to Johnny Gaudreau. I wish I could change it. Until then, though, let's get this Blue Jackets team rebuilt. I'd love to see both Hagens and McKenna. That's obviously very, very unlikely. But get one of them and move on. It sucks, but that's the Blue Jackets right now.
Yeah, it's going to be a very somber year.
For sure. All right, we move on over to a team that's kind of hard to predict, in my opinion. Because last year they were good in the first half. They kind of were okay in the middle half, but kind of really fell off down the stretch in March and ended up missing the playoffs by a handful of points after holding third in the Metro for basically the entire season. And they couldn't even end up in a wild card spot. That's the Philadelphia Flyers. You look at the Flyers, you see some additions. They really didn't make any huge additions in terms of free agency. A lot of it comes from within the organization, and it all starts and ends with Mr. Matvey Michkov, who will join their lineup and be a big part of things. They still have Forrester, Couturier, Konechny listed as their top line. Owen Tippett and Morgan Frost are the early projections to be playing with Michkov. Farabee, Lawton, Bobby Brink, third line. And then the fourth line, Noah Cates, Ryan Paling, and Garnet Hathaway. That's a really nice line. I look at the defense. I see Samheim, York, Sealer, Drysdale as the top four. You got Ristolainen on the bottom pair. It could be a pretty good defense. I don't know what to expect from Michkov. He's a winger, so I'm always hesitant about rookie wingers being good enough to do what some rookie centermen have done in the past. But I have heard people, smart people, people who have watched a lot of hockey, say that Michkov is right there with Bedard and should have been the second overall pick, would have been the second overall pick had he not been locked into the KHL. The Flyers took the chance. They were rewarded by Michkov breaking out of his contract early. He's my player to watch from the team, obviously. What are your thoughts on Philly?
Yeah, the Matvey Michkov era has arrived in Philadelphia. Rebuild in full swing, obviously. Team has gone through a lot of changes over the years. Was a little surprising at times. And at one point, like you said, they were towards the end of the season, had a chance to make the postseason as a team who were sellers at the trade deadline. So if you're a Flyers fan, last season was a roller coaster ride for you. But Matvey Michkov, he should be one of the most valuable rookies we see make their NHL debut this season. This kid has serious number one draft pick talent. He's currently my pick to win Rookie of the Year this season. Playing on a line with Owen Tippett, maybe even getting some time with Konechny on the power play, that's going to help his production quite a bit. I'm thinking somewhere in the 15 to 20 goal range, 30 to 35 assist range is where I would peg Michkov this year. But, Danny Briere, he's handling the rebuild the right way. Even when it looked like the Flyers may be one of those teams that could fight for the playoffs, the organization never steered clear of their path. The goal is to rebuild here, and nothing stood in the Flyers' way from achieving that last season. Defense is also a huge strength. I look at their top six defensemen. I currently don't hate everything I see. Sanheim, York, Drysdale, Ristolainen, these are great guys to have on defense. In fact, last season, the Flyers were 18th in the NHL in goals allowed per game. They had the fourth best penalty kill in the NHL. They were the only non-playoff team in the top 8 for penalty kill. I mean, they've been great defensively. Goaltending, though, is probably going to be a big issue for them this season. I expect them to give up a lot more goals this season. Samuel Urson and Ivan Fedotov, it's going to be scary for the Flyers on the back end. And Fedotov, he's got, there's great things said about him for the future. I just think right now with the team in front of him, as a backup, I don't trust him right now. I don't think either of these guys are ready for a number one role, but Urson's going to have to try and do that. He doesn't have much of a choice. I don't have high hopes for the Flyers this year.
Yeah, I really don't either. I'm not going to pick them to be a playoff team. Frank, let's get right into it. The New Jersey Devils, my favorite team. I saved them for last for that reason. I went mostly in the order of the standings last year, except I pushed the Devils down to last because I had to, get some stuff off my chest. I'll let you go first, though, and then I'll quickly go over my thoughts on my favorite team.
They were second to last in the Metro after winning the division after nearly winning the division a couple seasons ago with 112 points. This needs to be a big bounce back season for the Devils. They're going to have a lot of questions answered by management this year if they don't, have that bounce back year. Jacob Markstrom is my guy to watch. Devils finally listened to me, went out and got a goalie. I should have brought champagne with me to celebrate when it happened. Now Jacob Markstrom is actually playing on a good team. He should have very small issues getting back to what he looked like a couple seasons ago when he led the NHL in shutouts, finished the year with a .922 save percentage, 222 goals against. If there was ever a season to reach that ceiling again, it would be this year on a fresh start with the New Jersey Devils. We'll see what happens there. Their strength, they're one of the fastest in young cores. They're one of the fastest in young cores in the NHL. A lot of depth. Devils brought in some extra weapons this season by adding Brett Pesce, Brendan Dillon, Stefan Noesen, Paul Cotter. I mean, they could have easily ran it back with the team they had, but they wanted to improve on an already strong core, right? Biggest weakness we saw from last season for the Devils, their ability for players to stay healthy, VP. Devils only had 3 players all season last year playing all 82 games. Two players played in 76 games, and everyone else on the team was 71 games or less. Jack Hughes missed 20 games. Nico Hischier missed 11 games. Timo Meier missed 13 games. These are key parts of the core that couldn't stay healthy, and it showed because the Devils missed the playoffs by 10 points. Devils need to stay healthy if they want to get back to the postseason.
I really think health and goaltending were a big reason they didn't make the playoffs last year. I have high hopes for this team. I mean, I've never gone into a season thinking they could be better than I do right now. They added Jacob Markstrom, and I think that's a top flight goalie when he's healthy, when he's on top of his game.
Yeah.
His numbers dipped a little bit when the Calgary started to fall off. That's expected. If he's on a good Devils team that plays solid in front of him, they will have a chance to win. Jack Hughes is coming into the year healthy. They're going to be missing Luke Hughes to start the season for 2 to 3 weeks because of recovering from a little off-season issue that he had with his shoulder. The only flaw with the Hughes brothers is their shoulders. I mean, damn, all three of them have had an issue with a shoulder. I don't know if it's genetics or what, but, they're all elite when they play. I'm excited for a big year from Jack. I think this is the year where if he plays 70-plus games, he gets 100-plus points. So hopefully that's the case for him. Nico Hischier, one of the best two-way centermen in the NHL. Super stoked to watch him play. I love Brad. I love Meier on the wing. You look at defense, Dougie Hamilton is back. That was the big one last year, right? He got hurt in November and didn't return.
Yeah.
That was it for Hamilton. It was see you next year when he had that injury in that point of the season. And that point of the season, there was a point. I went to the game on November 5th last year. Both Jack Hughes and Nico Hischier were out. They were 7-3-1, and they won that game against the Hawks without Hughes and Hischier. Went to 8-3-1 and ended up not making the playoffs at all. It was a bad December while Hughes and Hischier were recovering from injuries, and then by the time it got to be February, March, they were too far back. You know how I feel about making up 5 points with 40 games left. It's very difficult. You have to get ahead. You have to stay ahead. You can't make the playoffs in November, but you can lose them. And that's what happened last year. Coming into this year with good goaltending, with Hamilton back, Hughes and Hischier seem poised for big years. We'll see what Meier and Bratt are able to do. Highest point projections each of them have ever had. Talk about Meier and Bratt on the wing. I love Dawson Mercer's game. A little bit of a down year for the dog, but still scored 20 goals in his sleep. Only Devil to play all 82 games for each of the last 3 years. He has never missed a game. He's been in the league for 3 years. He's played all 82. And that's through COVID. When they were canceling games left and right in his rookie year, he played all 82 games. So it'll be interesting to see how he plays. I love their defense with Nemitz and Hughes now. You add Brett Pesce, you add Brennan Dillon. You see what happens with guys like that being on the team a little bit better defensively in front of the goalie. So it should be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to this team. One player to watch. I'm going to go with Nemitz. I think he has the ceiling of a top-flight defenseman, and they took him second overall for a reason. He was great in his rookie year last year. He's ready to go. He's playing over in Europe to start the season this year with the Devils in Czechia. I also throw a little shout-out to Seamus Casey. I don't know if he's playing yet today, but he went to Prague. And not everybody gets to go to Prague, right? Like if you go to Prague, you have a chance to play. Will he make his NHL debut either today or tomorrow? We will see. But I'm looking forward to see what the Michigan Irishman has to say about the start of his NHL career. We'll see if he spends a lot of the year in Utica or if he plays with the Devils. With Luke Hughes being injured and Pesce to start the year, once those guys come back, it wouldn't shock me if Casey goes down. But to start the year, at least, we might get some Seamus in our life. The strength, I love Sheldon Keefe as the head coach of this team. He helped Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner all take huge offensive steps in their career. I'm super excited about what the Devils have to offer. I do think they will be a playoff game, and I'm super pumped up about what this team can do to really kind of get back into being elite status. So super excited about the Devils. This is the year where Hughes and Hischier really take off, though. I really believe that this is the year for – I know Hischier came in second. Hughes has a 99-point season. They have taken off already, but I think this is a year where they could take it to the next level, knowing that Markstrom is back there. Even on days Markstrom doesn't start and you got Jake Allen back there. It's going to be so fun. So I can't wait. It's going to be a good time. I do have them in the playoffs. You have them in the playoffs as well?
Yep.
All right, quickly give me your final order of the Metropolitan Division.
Number 1, Carolina Hurricanes. Number 2, New Jersey Devils. Number 3, New York Rangers. Number 4, Washington Capitals. All 4 of those are playoff teams. Number 5, Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 6, New York Islanders. Number 7, Philadelphia Flyers. Number 8, Columbus Blue Jackets.
Very interesting. Number 1, I have the New York Rangers. Number 2, I have the New Jersey Devils. Number 3, I have the Washington Capitals. Number 4, I have the Carolina Hurricanes. Those are all playoff teams. And then number 5, I have the New York Islanders. Number 6, I have the Pittsburgh Penguins. Number 7, I have the Philadelphia Flyers. And number 8, I have the Columbus Blue Jackets. All right, Frank, let's quickly go through some NHL news in period number 2. Just going to quickly go through all these except for one. We'll get on the Swayman for a couple seconds. But the first news, I don't even know if you saw this. I didn't write it down on the sheet because it just happened when we started the show. The Utah Hockey Club has named Clayton Keller to be the first captain in franchise history.
I did see that.
The only team in the NHL remaining without a captain now is the Seattle Kraken.
That's interesting. Great choice for captain. Happy for him.
100%. Hopefully a first career 100-point season is inbound for Keller. He's looked great in the preseason. The Utah Hockey Club is coming. Jeremy Swayman, him and Cam Neely going back and forth using media, using whatever, agent, making notes. I think Swayman's an idiot. He played 44 games last year. He was elite. He was always been elite, basically. But on the Bruins, he split the net with the actual Vezina Trophy winner 2 seasons ago. So I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Swayman. The fact that he thinks he's worth more than Saros and Hellebuck after they just signed their massive deals is nuts. I don't think any goalie in the league is worth more than Bobrovsky, who just won the Stanley Cup on kind of an expensive, lucrative contract. Tough for Swayman. Don't like to see this for the Bruins.
No, he's also said it has more to do than just the money right now, too. Just some of the stuff he's heard in arbitration, such as not being trustworthy in the playoffs. He said that was his biggest offense taken. So it's just things are messy right now.
It's very messy for the Bruins. And right now they named Jonas Korpisalo to be their starting goalie on the opening night. So we'll see if Swayman gets signed before December 1st. If he is not signed by December 1st, he will be ineligible to play in the 2024-25 season. Frank, the Devils are about to take on the Sabres in Prague. You're going to be watching?
Yeah, I'll probably turn it on for a little bit. We'll see. Should be interesting. I completely forgot this was regular season. And then I'm like, that's right, because this isn't the first time the NHL has done this, where the season starts early. But, yeah, it's a big opportunity for the Devils to get started on this rebounded year. Be first look at Markstrom in this series. I don't know, is he starting tonight or tomorrow? Or today? Today? So we'll see Allen tomorrow. But it should be a lot of fun. Playing overseas, anything could happen, VP, so they shouldn't take the Sabres lightly. But in this probably what's going to happen in the long run is these are going to split. I think each team's going to win a game. So usually what happens in these global series.
Very fair. All right, Frank, what are your playoff predictions for each conference?
Well, the Western Conference, we got the Dallas Stars, Colorado Avalanche, Nashville Predators, Minnesota Wild, Edmonton Oilers, Vegas Golden Knights, Vancouver Canucks, and Seattle Kraken. Those aren't in any particular order. I was just going Central and Pacific. But those are my 8 playoff teams from the West. And from the East, my 8 playoff teams are the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Florida Panthers, Boston Bruins, the Detroit Red Wings, the Carolina Hurricanes, the New Jersey Devils, the New York Rangers, and the Washington Capitals.
Very good. And then for me, I have in the Pacific Division, I'll just go by conference. The Western Conference, I have the Vancouver Canucks, Vegas Golden Knights, and Edmonton Oilers. And in the Central, it'll be the Minnesota Wild, Nashville Predators, Utah Hockey. No, I didn't mean to say the Wild. I don't know why I said the Wild.
Yeah, you didn't have the Wild then.
I didn't have the Wild. It's the Colorado Avalanche, the Dallas Stars, the Winnipeg Jets, the Nashville Predators, and the Utah Hockey Club. And then in the Eastern Conference, it's the Boston Bruins, Florida Panthers, Toronto Maple Leafs. Who was my fourth? Did I say Tampa Bay Lightning? And then in the Metro, it'll be the New Jersey Devils, Carolina Hurricanes, New York Rangers, and oh my God, who else? Oh, Washington Capitals.
Yeah.
So it's going to be very interesting. There are a lot of teams we didn't name that could make it, like the Minnesota Wild. Did either of us have the Kings?
No.
Neither of us had the Kings. They've been in the playoffs for 3 straight years. Like, they could
A
absolutely.
team we doubt, and then they're in the playoffs. We
Yeah,
doubt in the
so
past couple years.
100%. So it could happen. Frank, let's quickly roll through our top 10 NFL teams according to us. Period number 3. That was fast. That ended quick. All right,
Yeah.
Frank.
Really quick, I want to say we didn't do this, but I want to go on record before the season starts, so there's no BS. I want to give you my Stanley Cup prediction really quick.
Oh, yeah, go for it.
Just really quick, I got the Dallas Stars against the Carolina Hurricanes in the Stanley Cup. Hurricanes get over that hump, but the Stars win the cup.
Very interesting. I think a Canadian team wins the Stanley Cup this year. I think the Toronto Maple Leafs are going to lose in the Stanley Cup final to the Edmonton Oilers.
An all-Canadian
An all
Stanley Cup.
Canadian Stanley Cup
Wow.
final. The drought ends this year. Carolina gets bounced in the first round by the Devils. Frank, football. We'll do it a little differently this week for the sake of time. We both kind of got a crazy day here. I got to do pregame for the Devils very shortly. Just roll through your top 10 in order.
All right, you want me to
Just
elaborate on them? Or just...
go through all 10, and then if there's any stories you want to pick throughout, do it.
Number 10, I got the Atlanta Falcons. Number 9, I got the Washington Commanders. Number 8, I got the Seattle Seahawks. Number 7, I got the San Francisco 49ers. Number 6, I got the Houston Texans. Number 5, I got the Baltimore Ravens. Number 4, I got the Minnesota Vikings. Number 3, I got the Detroit Lions. Number 2, I got the Buffalo Bills. And number 1, I got the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, they've been number 1 on my power rankings each week, but they always find ways to win, but I don't particularly think they've looked great all year. But that's what they do at the end of the day. They're the reigning Super Bowl champions. There's still 1 or 2 teams that are yet to be defeated. They just always find ways to win, even when they don't look good, and that's just what makes them so elite. Buffalo at 2 still because of that. The loss to the Ravens. Ravens were due to explode. I don't really take a lot off the Bills in that game, but Atlanta joined the list at 10. But just based off that win last night, they out-dueled the Bucks, and they got that overtime win. It was big, and so they're a new team. The Commanders are a new team on my list. Texans moved up slightly. Vikings are on the list for the first time at 4. They're probably the biggest shock of the season by a mile for a team that was picked to be last in the NFC North. But I think Sam Darnold could have the potential to win Comeback Player of the Year. We just don't know how long he can sustain this type of play. That's my list, VP.
Very good list, Frank. I'm trying to find mine. I will get it in just a second. Okay, I do have it. Your list is good. I kind of had to step away for a second. Did you say your New Orleans Saints in the top 10?
Nope. I did not.
They're cooked.
When they beat the Chiefs this Sunday, or Monday night, I mean.
I'm sure you actually believe that. And I don't know if we were both wrong with the NFC South, or if I'll end up being right, or if you'll end up being right. The Saints raised my eyebrows, but then after losing 2 in a row and now they play the Chiefs, we will see. At number 10, I have the Atlanta Falcons. I'm moving them up from 12 for my power ranking. We have the knowledge of last night's game to help us with those 2 teams. So everyone else is from last week, but I'm bumping up the Atlanta Falcons to number 10. At number 9, I have the Pittsburgh Steelers. I know they lost, but they find ways to win a lot of the time. They don't need Justin Fields hasn't been great. Anybody? The Bears should have kept Justin Fields. The Bears would still be 2-2 if they had Justin Fields, and they would have much less of a ceiling than they do with Caleb Williams. So that's just my opinion. He's very good for the Steelers because he doesn't turn the ball over. Well, he does turn the ball over, but Tomlin knows how to fix people. At number 8, I have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. At number 7, I have the San Francisco 49ers. At number 6, I have the Buffalo Bills. At number 5, I have the Minnesota Vikings. At number 4, I have the Baltimore Ravens. At number 3, I have the Houston Texans. At number 2, I have the Detroit Lions. And at number 1, I have the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs, number 1, once again, they're not fun to watch, right? Other than the fact that knowing Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce can do something spectacular on offense and Chris Jones can do something spectacular on defense, but they just win. They beat everybody no matter what. They could beat. I believe if they needed to win a shootout with the Bills, they would. I believe if they needed to win 13-10 over the Bears, they would. Like, it's just how I feel about the Chiefs. They find ways to win. When I heard Kendrick Lamar was playing the Super Bowl, I was like, oh, Kendrick Lamar's playing the annual Chiefs game in February. Like, that's just how I feel about it. I've never bet against them ever, ever, ever. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Except Monday night against the Saints.
Yeah, we'll see. Very, very excited for the NFL, though. All right, Frank, it is time for America's favorite podcast segment of the week, Breaking Bets.
Where's my money, bitch?
Frank, the floor is yours.
All right, VP, I'll run through this kind of quick. I know we're a little crunched on time here. Not a great week last week. Really hurt the percentages here. I'm out of all the shows, and I'm not just saying this is probably my most confident week, I think, for breaking bets, or one of them. We're going to start off with number 9 Missouri at Texas A&M, number 25. We're going to go with Texas A&M money line at -130, bet to win 5 units. I don't love the strength of schedule Missouri has had to get to a 4-0 record. They beat up on a MAC school. They beat up on a 1-3 Missouri Valley Conference school. And it took them 2 OTs to beat Vanderbilt. I don't love the resume they put up despite being 4-0. Texas A&M, on the other hand, dominated Florida. They beat Arkansas. Now they come home and should take care of business against number 9 Missouri. Texas A&M doesn't get talked about a lot because the SEC is stacked with much more talented teams, but they are much better than 25th ranked on paper, and I think this is the team that can handle business in the SEC. Texas A&M money line -130, bet to win 5 units. My next pick, hockey season, start of the NHL season. For most teams, or I shouldn't say for most teams, but obviously NHL season kicks off today, but Tuesday, October 8th, is the start of the NHL season in North America. Bruins play the Panthers. Panthers are reigning Stanley Cup champions. They'll be raising the banner. But the reason the line is so skewed in favor of the Panthers is because they're the Stanley Cup champions. And when you raise the banner in your home opener, it's always tough to play as there are so many emotions that night, and teams that celebrate a ceremony usually come out and fall flat on their face. I expect some Stanley Cup hangover out of this Florida Panthers team, and the Bruins could care less about the banner raising. And all that is on their minds is getting revenge over the Panthers for what they have done for them in the playoffs the past couple of years. I think there's great value on the Bruins money line. I love it. +130, 3 units on the Boston Bruins money line against the Panthers on Tuesday. And finally, leads us to Sunday for football, the NFL. We got the Baltimore Ravens at the Cincinnati Bengals. Take the Bengals +3.5 at -146. Bet to win 5 units. I think this is a trap game for the books. Everyone is coming into this game thinking the Ravens are going to manhandle the Bengals because the Bengals haven't looked great, and the Ravens are coming off of a blowout win over the Bills. This is division rivalry football, though. And when these types of games happen, you throw records out the window. Anything goes. I think the Bengals actually come away with the win in this game, and I think it's even more of a blessing that you could get the Bengals at +3.5 points. However, getting those types of points at home in this big of a game is something I'll take any day of the week. Bengals +3.5 at -146. Bet to win 5 units. Those are my 3 picks for you this week. So yeah, There's
very good. Very, very good, Frank. I was just giving you the whole screen. It's good picks. I hope you go completely undefeated. And I'm going to do a little bit of self-promotion. Make sure you go on and watch the Let's Go Devils podcast pregame show. We are doing our first game in about 5 minutes, and I absolutely cannot wait. The season is upon us, Frank. I'm super stoked. I hope we get together to watch some hockey in short order here. I know it's kind of a crazy weekend, but starting next week, I think we should get together a little bit, watch some puck. Very stoked for how things are shaping up for this year. We all have a lot to look forward to.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I can't wait to watch the Blackhawks on Tuesday. in Utah's first ever regular season game. Can't wait.
Absolutely. I'll be at the home opener against the Sharks for the Blackhawks. See Will Smith, Celebrini, and Bedard all play in one game. I'm super stoked for that. For my Stanley Cup prediction, I already said I'm going to take the Leafs to play the Edmonton Oilers. And I said the Oilers will win. I wouldn't. Both teams winning would be so fun. Obviously, I hope the Devils win the Stanley Cup. They are going to come into this year with those aspirations. We'll see. We shall see. It's going to be so fun. And Seamus Casey is making his NHL debut. So just found that out. Should be fun. Mark Net, Devils lineup ready to go. Flip on over to the Let's Go Devils podcast network and check us out for the first game of the season's Game Day Live. And as always, Frank, thank you for listening.